Today's lesson is on how to review Chapter 2. The graph shows the average speed of car 1, which is traveling on a highway. The equation, y equals 55x, represents the average speed of car 2, where y is the distance in miles and x is the time in hours. Which car is traveling at a greater speed? Take a second to copy down the question. When we're talking about speed, we mean the miles per hour. So miles per hour means we have to do miles divided by the number of hours. For car 1, we're going to have to use our graph. So I'm going to pick a point. I want to pick a point that's directly on my graph, directly on the grid. I picked this point. It's 64 miles in 1 hour. 64 divided by 1 is equal to 1. So that means that car 1 is going 64 miles per hour. For car 2, they give us the equation y equals 55x. Since this is in the form y equals mx, we know we have a proportional relationship. When we have a proportional relationship, the slope, or the m, is going to be the unit rate. So that means that car 2 is going 55 miles per hour. Now we need to know which car is traveling at the greater speed, the faster speed. 64 miles per hour compared to 55 miles per hour means that car 1 is traveling at a greater speed. The next question. What is the slope of the line that passes through the points 0, -10, and 24, -6? We haven't done a lot of problems like this, but when we need to find the slope from 2 points, we're going to use our slope equation. Slope equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The easiest way to do this is to label your x1, your y1, your x2, and your y2. I'm going to label this 0 is x1, my -10 is y1, my 24 is x2, -6 is y2. It doesn't matter if you switch these and made 0 x2 and -10 y2, just as long as the x1 and the y1 stay together and the x2 and the y2 stay together. Now, when you're substituting them into your slope formula, you want to be sure to use parentheses. So my y2 is -6, my y1 is -10, my x2 is 24, and my x1 is 0. When I have two negatives together, that is going to turn into a positive. So I have -6 plus 10 over 24 minus 0. -6 plus 10 is 4. 24 minus 0 is 24. You always want to reduce your slope as well. I can reduce this to be 1 over 6. So that means that my slope would be 1 over 6. And you always want to keep your slope as a fraction or as a whole number. I do not want to turn it into a decimal. And our last question. Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Take a second to draw a quick sketch of the graph. Slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is always going to be y equals mx plus b. I'm going to have to determine what my m value is, my slope, and my y-intercept. The y-intercept is always easiest to see because I just look at my graph. I see that my graph touches the y-axis at this point. Since these are all going by ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my y-intercept is 5. Now, to find my slope, I have to find at least one other point to use. I have a point here, and I have another point here. I can use a combination of any of these 3 points. I'm going to use this point and this point. To get from this left point to this right point, I have to go up one space. Each space is represented by 1, so that would be my rise, 1. Now I have to go over 1, 2, 3, 4. I look at my x-axis to see how it's going. It's skipping boxes and going by 2s, so that means each box represents 1 unit of measure. So I went over 4. I cannot reduce 1 over 4, so that is my slope. So my equation in slope-intercept form would be y equals 1 over 4x plus 5. I have a positive slope, and I see that my line is going up from left to right, so that means I should have a positive slope. So I know I did my work correct.